Lee Ridley, I was lucky enough to achieve 2 promotions with Scunthorpe United, but nothing compares to the joy I experience when listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Thanks for tuning in once again to the Iron Hour podcast. It's Barry here, and a bit of a shorter episode today. I'm joined by, the one and only Max Bell. How you doing, Max?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, Barry. He says shorter now. We'll get to the end of the pod and he'll go, "Oh my God, that was so long."
Well, not for the first time. That's no, never.
Well,
and it started already. There we go. Right, I'm in a jovial mood. We're top of the league. We're absolutely massive, mate. What was all the panic about?
It's like the tweet that was doing the round. It was the 4 stages into Scunthorpe United in the middle, and we're back. We're so back. Oh God, we're screwed. Oh, we're really, really screwed. We're back.
Yeah.
Look, it was a good performance at Leamington, especially after the break, and especially given the conditions, the wind and the rain was a leveller, but particularly in the first half when we were up against it, when the wind was blowing in our faces, they dug deep. When we got ourselves 1-0 in front, there was sort of a 10, 15-minute period where Leamington went really aerial. They got the balls into the box, they got the long throws in, and we stood up. It was an encouraging performance, and if we play like that tonight against Darlington, we'll come away with another massive 3 points.
The obvious thing is the formation change. So for the first time this season, we lined up as a 4 at the back, and of course we've won the first Saturday, I think, since where was it? Is it many weeks ago? Anyway,
was it Shields or Curzon?
Well, Curzon was a Tuesday, wasn't it? I'll tell you what. This is a live.
I think Shields might have been a Monday.
Yeah, this is live podcast for you, baby. I'll find that.
I know it was. I know it was our first win in the 11, but for I'd maybe say to people, go check Iron Stats just to be sure.
So yeah, the formation change, which obviously worked out for Andy on the day. Right, what do you reckon's happened there? So do you think? Right, okay. Let me say this again.
Right. No. I'll answer it. What do I think happened there? I think Nicholson's out of form, and I think there's Boyce is injured. Now, look, was he under pressure to mix things up formation wise? Yeah, but I'm not necessarily sure that was the only factor. If going into that game, Butler sat and, thinking about it in himself and Schofield, if they thought that 5 at the back was the best formation to play, then I think they'd have played it. When the team sheet came out, what formation did you think it was?
I thought it was a 4.
Yeah. See, that's
I know some people thought it was a 5, didn't they?
Yeah. And I would be one of those people, because once bitten, twice shy and all that. I got texts off people, including my brother, thinking it was 4 at the back.
Who would have been that then? Would it have been Brogan as your right wing?
Yeah, because that's what they did. That's what they did in the second half. For a while they had Brogan at right wing back, and they had Denton at the left-sided centre half, if you like. And I thought that was what they were rolling with, and then actually at the second they kicked off, that was how they set up. So I think I texted my dad saying something like, "For fuck's sake." And then within 30 seconds, once you saw that Brogan was actually playing a little bit higher, texted him going, "False alarm, never mind." It worked. That's the main thing for me. It worked.
And the post-match interview on BBC Radio Humberside, where Andy Butler said, "Look, it's not a case of me swallowing my pride. We've played 4 today. Who knows what we'll play on Tuesday, right?" And I'll say this to you, Max, right? And I said this to you, via Messenger, but I haven't got a problem with 4 at the back. I haven't got a problem with 3 at the back. I haven't even got a problem with 5 at the back. What I've got a problem with is playing the same formation week in, week out, it failing and sticking with it, and basically saying, "We're Scunthorpe United, this is how we play, you'll have to adapt to us." Like, football's not like that. You have to change game by game, right? How the opposition line up and how they shape up.
Well, in a way, I'm not as fussed about that per se as do I think the setup gets the best out of your 11 players. Depending on where you are in the league, what success can vary. What's the personnel you've got available? Look, Alf Ramsey usually believed in wingers, but his wingers were injured for the World Cup, so he didn't play with any. I totally understand where the frustrations have come from in terms of the setup wasn't working. The bit that frustrated me the most as a fan was trying to fit square pegs into round holes. So like the second half against Warrington Rylands, for example, Max Bogan played in 3 different positions in that second half. He played a right wing back, he played at left wing back, and in central midfield. Tyler Denton is not a centre half. So that's the bit that frustrates me, because that elevates the system above the personnel. Look, particularly when I was growing up, I quite admired like Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis, managers who got the absolute best out of what they had at their disposal. I can see you grinning. I don't give a shit. And actually, Pulis is a good example. Like, there was a manager at Stoke who had a reputation at Stoke. It was pretty valid for making the absolute best. 7 or 8 players in their side would be 6'3" plus. The throw-ins. But then when he went to Palace, which people forget, actually, they played a very different style of football. It was very pace orientated. It was very counter-attacking. It was a lot more ground-based, because they were looking to use the likes of Wilfred Zaha, Jason Puncheon, the pace on the break, making the best about what you've got at your disposal. And fundamentally, when it's come to form and other bits this season, I don't think in all games we have got the best out of our personnel. But I thought we did on Saturday. We did at Leamington. I thought it worked well.
Just let's explore that analogy a bit. So, in terms of where we are this season, right? We're not a Stoke, are we? Yeah, we've got some big guys, but we're a football-based team, aren't we? We have the players at this level to play good football,
Well, we're probably not quite Tony Pulis' Stoke. We're maybe more Sam Allardyce's Bolton, in that they did have good footballing players. People forget that. People like Ivan Campo, Djorkaeff, Stelios Giannakopoulos.
JJ.
So good they named him twice. JJ Kocher, Fernando Hierro. These were not knobheads. And they were a side who could mix it up. They could play in more than one way. And I think actually the way in which Allardyce's reputation has been solidified are actually a little bit harsh, but B, also I think he played into it a little bit as like a psychological, us against the world kind of thing. Look, any side that's got Callum Robertson at this level is going to be able to create things in open play. It was the same last season with Connor Smith. Look, I look at the signing of Beck and I think, right, well, that does indicate that you're at least inclined to play a certain way. But he's not that awful with the ball at his feet. He can chest it down. I thought him and White all worked well as a partnership. He did win. Beck did win just about absolutely everything in the air in both boxes. But, I want that from players. I want us to be able to defend set pieces properly. And the fact that it was Nicholson that we dropped and we then weren't relying on the long throws maybe does remind people that we can be that footballing side that we're used to. It was Leamington launching the long throws in on Saturday. It wasn't us, and we were fine, and we won, and we played well.
Mark Beck's an interesting one, because I know for a fact that Scunny were having a look at him last season. We're at least having a look, and I know Jimmy was really impressed, and that was a player Jimmy was really eager to get over the line. He likes the look of Mark Beck a lot, and I remember hearing that it's not just about get the ball to him in the air. He with his feet is an incredible player. So I've been told. So I understand what you're saying. I do agree. That's the first point. But the second point is, I don't think it's just a case of we're going to put the ball in the box in the air and hope for the best.
I agree. I think it's always a plan B. And again, look, he won just as many headers in our box as he did in theirs. And look, I always remember Wimbledon when they played Liverpool home in the cup, and you look at somebody like Akinfenwa. Like, he's not actually, in the grand scheme of things, he's not actually that tall, 5'11" maybe, but his physicality comes from his strength. So you saw, actual Premier League defenders, they couldn't go through him. They were having to almost try and go round him, which for a man of that width was ridiculous. And I do think that when it comes to with it back to goal, that's a strength. Can he chest it down? Can he lay it off for players? Again, particularly before he got right to the end of his career, that always was something that Torpy was good at. He would look to lay it off. He'd look to play a little through ball to a Hayes, to a Cleveland Taylor on the overlapping runs, something like that. And certainly if we can get good players in and around him, and if we do keep with, we might discuss this more, but what was either like a 4-3-1-2 or like a diamond or a box four, however you want to call it, of those midfielders, Roberts was the furthest forward. Beck's going to be looking to get him into the game. He's going to be looking to knock it down for him. He's going to be looking to lay off for him. People are going to make runs off him. Whitehall is always like that, running behind if you can feed it onto him. So, yeah, you've got multiple options there.
I'm interested to understand how that midfield operated on Saturday, because the drawback of not having the 5-4-3 at the back is that you obviously then don't have the wing backs to use the width out wide. Do you feel that we were able to utilise the men in midfield to still use both flanks?
Yeah, I do. I think the fluidity of that midfield helped. There's been a bit of chat online, and we were talking about it on Messenger in terms of what exactly was the shape of that midfield. And I thought it was pretty fluid. There were times when it was a diamond, where Clunan was sitting a little bit deeper, either to protect the defence or recycle possession. Or there were times when I thought it was a 4-3-1-2, where you've got Roberts as the 10 in behind, when he's really pushing forward, especially in the second half, when we did have the wind at our back. But also, Brogan and Beeston got wide. We know that they've both got that in their locker. Beeston's played wide plenty of times for us over the last 18 months. Brogan was really energetic down the right-hand side. You saw that he was prepared to go that way. Leamington wasn't a massive pitch. So, I guess there's a question there for us in terms of if we do play a game that's on a really bigger pitch, are we brave in that sense? Do we, compact the midfield? But actually, I do think that's a setup that's got potential about it at home. I think about when Adkins was in charge of us, and we were theoretically playing 4-4-2, but we were only really playing it with one winger. Wolford was the only out-and-out winger, and then you might have, O'Connor on the right-hand side, tucking in out of possession, because you can do that on not a massive pitch. You can compress the space. And Brogan does... If I had to compare Brogan to someone, it probably would actually be Michael O'Connor. He's like kind of energetic, physical, can drift wide, can push forward. And again, I thought he was excellent on Saturday. It wasn't just the change of system for me. 90 minutes performance, he went, right, I deserve to start now. And I would be really surprised if he doesn't start tonight away at Darlington.
Similar era. Do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Ian Morris a little bit, that kind of player who can play in the middle, can play out wide. Again, Ian Morris, I think, played left back, didn't he?
He did play to me. Yeah, and the playoff semi-final of MK Dons. That's probably just about all-round game. Morris's best performance for us, I thought, especially as his hamstring was buggered. Yeah. So basically, when Denton and Kelly get injured, is that what you're calling for? He said, let's play Brogan at left back.
Well, I think we might have to.
I've seen you play at left back. I've seen you play left back well. Don't do yourself down.
That's I think the word well is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, mate.
Well, it's imagine being beaten by a side who in their back four have got 3 goalkeepers and 2 of them are wearing glasses.
It's never been done before. I and Owl were the first ones, mate. Let me tell you. Yeah, it's not good, is it? Like you say, how about 4? Here's the question for you then, because we were talking about it there. Do you think they'll play 4 at the back against Darlington, or do you think they'll play 5? I think they'll play 5.
It's not going to be 3, because that's not how you're setting up with that system away from home on a Tuesday night. Will it be 4 or will it be 5?
It'll be 5.
Oh, not it might be, not oh it could be, not oh what I might play. It will be.
Well, I'm basing that off Andy Butler's interview post-match, where he said we chose to play 4 today. That was today.
Yeah, but is that not a bit of like pop psychology there? Like, he wants Darlington to keep on their toes, to not be 100% sure, and B, look, what manager is ever going to come out in a post-match press conference and go, yeah, Ollie, I sucked it up, I fucked up, I swallowed my pride because I was worried about losing my job and getting shit on Twitter. But he's never coming out and saying that. So, are you sure he'll play 5 at the back? Who's he bringing in? Who's he dropping?
I'm not sure. That would be my gut. What do you think?
I mean, if it was 5, I wouldn't fall off my chair in shock.
Yeah,
but I think gun to my head, I think it should be 4. You know, look, Leamington were no mugs. They clearly weren't an awful side, especially in the first half. They did create stuff. I believe they're unbeaten at home since February. But they've clearly got into a habit of, after getting promoted, you know, they're confident at home. I know their away record's not fabulous, but there's a lot to be said for getting promoted on your home form and staying up in a higher division on your home form. And it was our best performance for a little while. I know Darlington last season was really, really, really shit, and it's still burnt on quite a few people's memories. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I worry that if Butler switches back to 5 at the back and we don't win and we play a bit, he's opening himself up to quite a lot of grief there potentially.
Yeah, but I don't think he cares about that. Like, and I mean that in a good way. I don't think he cares about the grief. I think he will literally think, what do I think is the best way to get a result, whether that's a point or 3 on Tuesday night? And I think his thinking will be, and I know I'm going to get some stick for this, but I think he'll look to bring Nicholson back into the team any way he can, just to give us that threat from the throw-ins. Now, I think it'd be a bit ambitious to put him at left back, considering the issues we've had with him on the ball of late. So it wouldn't surprise me if he came back in as a left centre back and we switched them back to 5 at the back. That's how I would imagine he would.
So I guess I'd have 2 questions for you off the back of that, which is, firstly, if he does that, which midfield is he getting the hook? Because if it's Brogan, I think that's really, really, really harsh. And 2, if it's just a case of him objectively reaching that decision, then why didn't he reach it for Leamington? What was different about Leamington compared with every single other side we've played so far this season?
I think the pitch will be a factor. I know it's not exactly a massive pitch at Darlington, but it sounds like the one at Leamington was particularly small. So I think that comes into it. As much as you then want a bit more width, which I think you do get with your wing backs. I think that's one of the positives. You do get that width, whether it's defensively or offensively. You do get the width. I think most people would concede that. In terms of who will miss out, I'm not saying I would do this, but I think it would be Brogan. Like, I don't know who else he could drop, and that is a big call. That's the sort of call that, if it goes badly, would absolutely blow up in his face.
Well, like you said, does he care about that?
I don't think so, mate.
I wonder. I don't know. I wonder if it was partly due to the weather and the conditions.
You see, what he might do, right, is he might drop one of the fullbacks and put Brogan at right wing back just to get him on, just to involve him, just to keep him. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. We're speculating, but I think he will look to get Nicholson back on the pitch just to give you that threat from the throw-ins.
I'm not sure I would, on the basis that I thought everyone played well. If it's not broke, don't fuck with it. And then look, if we play not great and we get rolled over, obviously mediocre 0-0, whatever it is, and you've played with 4 at the back, then you can say, look, it's not about systems, it's about individuals and performances, good or for good or for bad. But you know, I was in that away end. I was behind the goal but the chant broke out down the side under the covers of 4 at the back, Olé Olé, on more than one occasion. So I think, particularly from a lot of the people who are going away from home, who will be going tonight up to Darlington, who went to Leamington on Saturday, I did think the change of system worked. didn't just need one win. We desperately need sort of like 2 or 3 on the bounce to get that confidence back and show people that it's not a fluke, get the home crowd back on your side. I know we are top, but I think that was partly due to the Curzon game being abandoned, and there's lots of games in hand flying about, including from Alfreton, who obviously we've got on Saturday. I wouldn't make any changes, but look, we'll find out whether or not Butler does it about 6:45 tonight.
What would be a good result tonight? Would you, if I offered you a point right now, would you take it?
On its own, no. But if you offered me 4 from the next 2, I would. Just because Darlington last year was particularly bad, the postponement and the 4-0 defeat. I don't think they're mugs, but in terms of whether or not I would take a point before the game, do I think the chance of us winning is less than the chance of us getting rolled over? And right now, I would say and hope no. But look, if you offered me 4 from the next 2, I would take it. And I wouldn't mind which way round that was.
Yeah, I'd said that before the Leamington game. So we've taken 3. I said I'll take 4 from the next 2. We've taken 3 from 1. So like this, I'm always like eager to say I won't rewrite what I've said. And I said we'll take 4 from 2. So then by that logic,
and then as well, and then as well, I suppose in fairness, it also depends on what kind of point, doesn't it? If it's a good game, you maybe come from behind to get it, or Darlington play well, we play well. There are good points away from home, but there can also be mediocre. We sort of scrape that a bit. I think of Blythe last season. That was not a good point away from home. But you go away, maybe I don't know, maybe finish 2-2 or something. I think of Alfreton last season actually. Given how long we played with 10 men, in fact we were probably a little bit unlucky not to win it. Were we hard done by with 1 or 2 refereeing decisions? Didn't think that was an awful point away from home. So, well, we'll see. How happy are we all going to be coming about 9:45?
Yeah, look, let's talk about a player who didn't feature on Saturday, and it was an illness that kept him out. Luke Williams, but played really well against Grimsby in midweek behind closed doors. If he's fit, if he's got over that illness, I mean, I think it was diarrhea. Andy Butler just came out and said it on Humberside. Just literally, yeah, he's got diarrhea, mate. It is what it is. If he's back in contention, he probably gets in the squad, doesn't he? Probably gets named as a sub. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Jesus Christ, I would be surprised / very sympathetic if he was still ill and thus unavailable for selection. Like anybody who's got the 2 bob bits for 3 solid days, like that is I don't care if no matter what job you do, that is a rough deal. Look, as long as it's not a serious injury, we know what Luke Williams' injury record is like, but the diarrhea is diarrhea. I think you would have him on the bench, particularly as an option for if you need an attacking sub with half an hour to go, or if Robert struggles to do 180 minutes in 3 days. He's there as an option, especially if you do keep with a 4-3-1-2 or a diamond. Williams as that number 10. He's the closest you've got to a like-for-like replacement of Roberts. Would you if he was back, would you have him in the squad? Would you have him on the bench?
I'd definitely have him in the squad. Yeah, I don't think there's two things would stop him from starting. One, we won, and the only player really that would come out would be Roberts, and that's
that's not happening for about 1,000 different reasons.
That's not happening.
Yeah,
and then the other thing is, the illness aside, he's not going to start many games, is he, for us this season? Even with the best will in the world, he's not going to start 15 games between now and the end of the season, is he? He's going to come off the bench. Like, that's just the Luke Williams.
Yeah. The only way that changes is if Roberts leaves, which may happen at some point. I hope not, but there's a non-zero chance, isn't there? Let's be honest.
There is, but injury, like he's not been playing a huge. They don't play a huge amount of football in Iceland. Like he's not going to start 20 games, is he, between now and the end of the season? Even if Roberts broke his leg tonight and didn't play again for us, he's in what world does he play? You know, does he start 20 times in 6 months? It's just not going to happen, mate, is it? Or is it?
I don't know, and particularly if it comes to Roberts breaking his leg, I hope we don't find out. I mean, this is the football equivalent of you building a bombshell in your backyard because you're worried about the Russians. Like, handy to have. Hope you never have to taste a tin of cold beans after the bomb's gone off. Like.
All right, so I think we'll just start to think about wrapping it up. We've got the Spy in the Camp coming up to finish the episode. But in terms of what that win did for us then on Saturday, do you think it buys Andy any time with the fans, or do you think he's in a position now where it's game by game? So we lose tomorrow, we lose tonight, sorry, and it all flares back up to the surface.
Look, you're only ever one bad defeat away. I think. But that's the case with any manager. People thought the Dean was close after Darlington away last season, particularly social media. It's not like the old days where you had to write an angry letter to the Telegraph or you had to wait until the next home game at the Terrace.
Turns out it was 6 weeks into an extended contract.
Yeah, exactly, and that's clearly why they weren't going to bloody sack him. Look, in a way, it's not the fans that count; it's the board, but. If you keep winning games and you keep playing well, then people won't care. And even to a certain extent, if you go away to Darlington and get done, it's about how that happens. It's about the decisions that get made. Look, if we do get done, then it might be under a bit more pressure. But then if we go and beat Alfreton at home on the weekends, then that pressure will dissipate, particularly if they play well. The most important thing is just getting those results. I think what helped about Leamington was, the psychologically of it, particularly given the fans who braved the bloody dreadful wind and rain. Going to those kind of games and getting soaking wet through in the gale force wind and all that jazz. That they're worth it when you win, particularly if you play well. You get done 2-0 under those conditions and your manager's already under pressure and you're down a 5th or 6th or whatever it might have been, then, yeah, you're grimacing, aren't you? You know what it's like. It's a shit day. But it wasn't. And we don't have to worry about that. And you just hope that you can go to Darlington and show enough to keep that little bit of positive momentum on the road.
If we'd have drawn on Saturday, we'd have been down to 5th. And if we'd have lost, we'd have been down to 6th. So it was
a massive win, yeah. Rightly, I know it's only 2 points, but psychologically, the difference for us between 5th and 1st is massive.
Oh, huge!
Yeah, and because quite a lot of the supporters haven't seen a victory in quite a while. I know we joked about it earlier, but I think it was 11. I think it was 11 without a win on the Saturday, wasn't it?
Marine.
Oh, see. And, we've got them again in a couple of weeks.
That would have been ace, wouldn't it? That would have been ace if we'd not won on a Saturday until we played them again. And that would have been mental.
Correct.
Yeah, ace is probably not the word.
Yeah, it's correct. Having bought my ticket for Marine, I hope to be one of the. Well, I will be one of the 317. I'm sure. I hope we do win on that Saturday, but I hope we win on
many Saturdays to come.
One Saturday more because we've got Alfreton on Saturday. I know. Then we've got the weekend after off, but look, it was big. I think, but it does open the stuff that we've discussed now. Brogan starting, Beck starting, 4 at the back. There are things that people have been calling for that worked, and now if you switch back and it doesn't work, then I'm sure people will not be very happy with that. But that's football, baby. We all know what the score is on that front. It's nothing new.
And before we move on to the Spy in the Camp, the draw was made for the Links Cup, and obviously we were drawn against. I mean, it was the most obvious thing that was going to happen, right?
Yeah, it was. At least a one in three mathematical chance. Scunny's statement on the website was worded a bit oddly, wasn't it? Have we had it confirmed as to whose ground it was at? It's going to
No. No, we haven't had it confirmed other than what Scunthorpe are saying. And Scunthorpe are saying it will be at Spalding because, as per the rule book, it will be played at the club that is ranked lowest. Now, I watched the draw live, and the person conducting the draw said the first team out of the hat will play the games at home. So I said that to the Scunthorpe United admin on Twitter, and they just pointed me back to the rule book where it clearly says that all draws up until the final will be played at the home ground of the lowest ranked team. So I can see you frantically looking there to find it, but there was a screenshot.
No, do you know the worst thing was I wasn't. Okay, well that's fine. Yeah, Scunny.
But that doesn't make. Well, then they might have changed the rules for like. It's their prerogative, right? If they want to say it's at Spalding, then it's at Spalding. If they want it to be at Scunny, then it's at Scunny, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll do a bit of digging on that when the time comes, because obviously it was quite a number of months after the draw when we did actually end up playing Grimsby.
Yeah.
I think if it does end up being at Spalding, it's the one. So it's not going to end up behind closed doors, is it?
No.
And I have never been to Spalding, so if nothing else, it's a new ground. Whether or not it wouldn't surprise me if it gets played, close to the end of the season. But
well, I think they've got.
That'll be subject. Go on, you go.
I can't remember the exact date, but it's definitely a Tuesday in February is the latest you can play the game. I think it might be the 25th, but as is always the case, they tend to push it right to the very last date with this Links Cup. As long as I can remember, Scunny have played their games on the last possible day they could play them.
Well, so, the 25th is a Tuesday, so you might be right. All right, mate, you might be right. Well, look, if it is, then hopefully we'll get to make the trip down to. Do you know, even though it's in Lancashire, here's a fun fact for you. You know, Spalding is closer to London than it is to Scunthorpe.
I can believe that. Lincolnshire's massive. I mean, Stamford, right? Stamford, which is probably the lowest point in Lincolnshire, the most southern point. I mean, that'd take you 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20, 2.5 hours probably from Scunny, would it? It's a long way.
Especially if you're stuck behind a tractor.
Yeah, there's that. There's definitely
that. We joke that Spalding's basically Peterborough, but Stamford really is basically Peterborough.
And I think they're still in the draw, so it could have been them. I think it was Cleethorpes, Stamford, Spalding, and Scunny. So we could have ended up being at Stamford, which, as I say, is
a fair old trip. Oh, I remember when I was at Beats playing for the school football team. We got
Jesus, how desperate were we?
Very. We got drawn away at Bourne Grammar one year, and genuinely for a 3 o'clock kickoff, you're leaving at 12:30.
We took the register, we did shoot her, and then we were off, mate.
I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure we done 6-2. Happy memories, but yeah, it'll be a good trip. I'm sure it'll be nice for Scunny fans to see Jimmy, and hopefully it'll come at a point where we're still at the top of the table, so everybody can be happy.
Right, then we'll wrap this podcast up with our Spy in the Camp. This week I'm joined by Darlington fan Andrew Park. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Well, this segment we like to have a bit of a chat and look at what can expect from this week's opposition. So Darlington at the minute, currently sitting in 15th. How's the season been so far?
Up and down. We've had one of them seasons where we're not consistent enough at the minute. We've been plagued by injuries to our case players, and we're only starting to get them back. So hopefully we start turning a bit of form. The win against Buxton last week hopefully has knocked us a bit of confidence. But so far we've started the season relatively okay. We knocked up some good wins towards back end of August, September. Then we had a nightmare October, and we were just scoring goals, but then kept on conceding stupid goals and ended up losing games. Lost to Gainsborough, got battered by Chorley. Kings Lynn 1-0 up and got beat by them. It's just daft little things were creeping in, and we just lost that little oomph. So hopefully the win last week gives us a little bit of confidence going into tomorrow.
And you've been pretty solid at home. Looking at the home form
Yeah,
table,
yeah.
you were being 10th, and I think you've only lost one game.
Yeah, it was the opener against Kidderminster, and for me, I don't think we should have lost that. We matched them, considering they're a full-time team. Yeah, it was just a shame they got that winner. I think just the fitness showed in the end.
Mm.
Obviously, it was being part-time there, got that facility of training every single day, whereas we get 2 days a week.
Yeah, I guess a lot of Vion fans will be thinking the same thing, which is obviously had a game called off at the weekend against Hereford due
Yeah.
to parts of the pitch being frozen. There was issues last season. The multiple times we made our way up to Darlington. Any kind of any feeling as to whether the game will go ahead? Do you know?
It should be fine. Let's say I'm up in Darlow now. It's just been like drizzles the last couple of days. The snow's all gone. The pitch should be thawed out. It should be absolutely fine. It'll be cold, so I'll tell anyone to wrap up because it's grim up north. But just bring your big coat, and I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, and just kind of thinking to last season,
Yeah,
it was a tough one for Scunny fans. By the time the game did get a go ahead, I think was it in March? I think it was.
yeah,
You
middle
did
of match time, I think.
did an absolute job on us 4-0. Is that? I mean, you played great football that day. Is that kind of what we can expect from Darlow?
If you told me we were going to batter you 4-0 last year,
All
I'd
right,
have beat your head off.
less of the word batter, mate. Yeah, let's just steady
Like
on.
nobody expected that. Least of all Darlow fans. We were smash bang in the middle of a relegation battle, and that Darlow that turned up was where had that been all season. They just turned it on. I think maybe it's been the prospect of playing an half decent side with decent little following, just giving maybe just to kick up the arse a little bit. Um, Tomorrow, it could depend on what Darlow turns up. It could be the Darlow team that just clicks, and we've got Cedric Main up top who can absolutely batter anyone in this league. He's unbelievable when he's fully fit. Um, or it could be the same Darlow team that turns up when they played Charlie the other week and we got pulled over all over them, which is absolutely nothing that day. So it just depends how they are tomorrow and what team turns up.
You mentioned Cedric Main there. How's he been this season?
He's been injured. He got injured he scored at Oxford away and he got injured scoring that, and then he's just been in and out of injury since then. And he's came back the last couple of weeks and you can just see he's getting stronger again. But on his day, that man is unbelievable. Like, he can bring players into play. He can dictate games. He's a match winner, and how we've hung on to him still. I know we only got him in January, I think, or February. The fact that we held on to him is something for us because the man
Mm.
is. I think he's one of our better players, and he's too good for this level. I think.
No, I mean, when I think of Darlington, I always think of the fact you are a former league club, a cracking club, and of course, you was at that amazing stadium, which is probably the downfall of the club, really. But
Yeah.
what are the expectations, kind of like mid to long term? Is there any realistic expectations to get back in that football league?
The, there's aspirations to get there, but right now we've had three grounds, like 3 or 4 grounds last like 10 years, and
Mm.
we need our own place where we can pull in our own money. Because at the moment we're renting Blackwell Meadows, which is ideal for the current size because of the fan base. It's not huge at the moment, but we need to generate our own revenue. And until we start generating that, we are going to be stagnated to where we are, which is going to be mid-table, pushing for the occasional playoff push, having a nice little cup run now and again. But the CEO, he's far as I'm aware, he's in talks about getting a specific site in the town to open up a smaller size stadium, probably a bit smaller than York. I think something we need. But until we start generating our own revenue, we are not. I don't think we're going to go anywhere. It's just going to be a case of just keeping us happy by an occasional cup run, flinging us in the playoffs with a little bit of excitement. But we've got a solid fan base. The booster budget we do every year is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how we keep getting it higher. We started years ago, and I think we started about 80 grand.
So,
And
so
this
what
year,
happens there? Just talk us through that then. So fans basically donate for the transfer budget, right?
basically, because the club's ours anyway, so obviously we pay for each month our membership. I think it's 25 quid, and then all our intake money, all basically to our club. So what we put in is what we get. So the more we put in, the better the playing budget, the better whatever we need. But basically, all the money we raise in the summer or in January when we did one, just go straight to the manager. Just go and get what you need. And then obviously in January we did another one to keep us up, and I think we raised another 40 grand on that one. I think it was. So I think over the last 18 months, probably close to about 350, 400 grand, which is phenomenal for a part-time
Yeah.
team. And it's just nothing surprised me with this club anymore. Like we've been through the mill massively over the last 15 years, yet we're still pulling out fighting and still creating a bit of noise and showing that we're still there.
And finally, then, how do you see this game kind of playing out? Do you think it'll be a nitty gritty game, or do you think we can expect
Well,
some free
I know
flowing football?
you're the top of the league, and I've been obviously because I've got friends down in Scunthorpe as it is. I've been following.
Number
Um,
one, baby.
I think it depends with views as well. Like from what I've gathered, views have been a bit frustrated with your management and his style of play, how he won't revert to a back four. I think it was.
Oh, listen, Andrew, that's all gone, mate. We're top
Um,
of the league. We don't talk about that, mate. We're massive.
I love the confidence there. Like, hopefully, you can get
if
shut down tomorrow.
if you'd have spoke to me a week ago, mate, it was all doom and gloom. 3 points
But
changes
no, I
everything.
think it absolutely does. Like, say we beat Buxton, I didn't think we beat Buxton. It just gives us that little bit. I know it was only a cup game, but gives that instill a bit of confidence. And you'll come in that flying with Cal Roberts. He's played against us many times. Blythe and that man is keep him injury free, and you're laughing with him. But I think it'd be a good game. I think how we play is we tend to play from the back. We try and work our way up the field because we've got pacey wingers, we've got Cedric Minnick pull the strings, we've got Will Hatfield in the middle who's managed just an animal. He's just solid. So we've got the
Mm.
foundation of a really strong team, and how we play football is really good. That attacking threat is there. Like we had Cameron Salkeld. We've got a couple against you last year.
Yeah,
Like if he turns up, he can change the game out of nowhere. We've got a young lad on loan. Well, I don't know if he's young, but Will McGowan got him from Gateshead. He's decent enough. He plays behind the front two. We've got a striker, Jack Maskell, who can. He's raw, really, really raw. I think he's 19-year-old, and he'll. I don't know if you've got some big experience centre halves, but he'll battle them all the way along. So I think it'll be a tough game, and I think I'm going to go for a draw. Like I say, we're good at home, but I think you've got the players that can just turn games straight away. So I'll take a draw right now. Get 3 points, Brucey bonus. But I'm not going to win too confident because we've only just come out of that bad patch. So I'll take a draw right now.
do you know what? I'd probably take a draw too. When you frame it
Really?
against the fact we took all three on Saturday, I think I'd said if we could take four from the next two,
You're
I'd
not
take
confident?
that. A point's a good result away from home on a Tuesday night. That's about as confident as you'll get from me. I'm going to draw as well. I think.
Yeah, I'll take a draw.
Hopefully.
I think it'll be an open game. I think both teams will go for it. Like we won't sit back, and we will go for it. And I can imagine you might ease yourself into the game, and I think your fitness will make sure later on in the game when we're tiring. But I think yours will prove a very, very tough test, and being up there for the top of the league shows that you are going to be up there all season.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the form table, up until obviously we won on Saturday, we were like it was relegation form last 10 games.
Yeah,
It was really bad, but yeah, we've recovered now, mate. We're massive.
1 minute all changes there.
Yeah, exactly.
Will
Right,
you be
well,
will you be
go on.
bringing many up? Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think a couple of hundred. Like you frame it against the fact it's a Tuesday night, right?
Yeah,
Well, then what is it? It's less than 2 hours, I would think.
yeah,
Just less than 2 hours. Look, we'll bring a few hundred. I would
yeah.
say.
I won't say where I go every other week, but it takes me 2.5 hours to get down there every week.
Yeah, well, I've heard where that is, Andrew. I've heard something about you
I think
fraternizing with the enemy, mate.
I think Becky's been talking too much.
Can I just say for the listeners, it turns out that you basically have a child with a Grimsby fan. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, my
That is
ex-partner.
outrageous. What? How is that? I mean, what on earth is that?
Yeah,
What sins have you committed in a past life for that?
oh, you tell me, mate. But yeah, I've got a kid with a town fan. Obviously she's my world and stuff. But yeah, travel down to town every couple of weeks. So I think the Iron fans won't be liking that.
No, mate. Even more motivation for us now to get the win. Well, thanks very much for your time, Andrew.
Not a
Take
problem,
care.
mate. You take care, buddy,
Best of luck for the rest of the season.
and you, mate. Apart from tomorrow.
Indeed.